已经到了哈，在对面而已。So whatever thing you don't want, you put in the coach first. Later we will come back to the coach for city tour. 你们的水啊，这种东西不要拿下去。
带了。
啊，最好是带，等下怕里面完了之后要出来下雨。
转了，转了，转了，转了。一个你，一个老虎啊！你两个都是你的。
狮子在后面。
哦，以后上。
看他在吗？
可以拍照。
Of 1.8 kilometer. And once a year in the gardens, we find a wonderful, luxurious concert performed by the Philharmonic Orchestra. It's called the Concert for Peace in Europe. And it's free of charge. You can come in without paying any entrance fee. And this, since more than 10 years, made enormous success, and is a second propaganda for the Philharmonics, known already for the New Year's concert. Why do we call it Schönbrunn? In the 16th century, he came out here for hunting, and the hunting was very much a job and a sport, and husbands like most. And while they were hunting deer, red deer here, Emperor Matthias saw a well which spilled out fresh, clean water. It's a quality of thermal water still used and sold in the refrigerator of the museum shop. And this water is good for those people who have stomach problems, for instance. But you learned it, yeah? Schönbrunn. Exactly. And the gardens are huge and large, as an area almost as big of the surface of the Principality of Monaco. Maria Theresa had a wonderful husband who, besides that the panda bear are on the red list, we have a couple borrowed from the Republic of China. Unhappily, the boy died suffering cancer half a year ago, after a twin couple, a baby twin couple was born. And the boys and the girl are now almost 1.5 years. And after celebrating the second birthday, it's a negotiation with the Chinese Republic. They have to return to China because they have to be brought back into wildlife. But we are lucky that we are allowed to have these panda bears in Vienna, and we can help to reproduce the population of bear jumping on the beams, running around in the zoo. Very attractive zoo. I like most the cutter apes. Possibly you have seen one day a cutter ape is half cat and half ape. They're very funny. They are most funny, these guys. It's joy for kids, of course, but not the only kids, but also adults love it. Para Mustafa, he really burned down the entire suburbs, but never managed to enter into the Pilt residence, so Ottomans. Even from the steppes of Asia came the Huns, and you may have learned about the king of the Huns, Attila. Danube Wachau Valley. Here in Vienna one also says, we do not know too much, but almost everybody coming from Asia knows about Attila, the king of the Huns. And there's a lot of story about him in our town. Reigns of Austria. We learned today a lot in the morning about the Dukes of Habsburg, about the Emperor of Habsburgs. But before, our country, conquered by Rudolf of Habsburg in the 13th century, other sovereigns ruled our territory, and they were sent by the Emperor from the German Empire, invested to protect the outer peak northeast of the whole Roman Empire, and this was Vienna. In those days, 1137, they decided to make this place a permanent residence, but before the king was important. In Vienna, if we wouldn't have the Danube here, which already the Romans fortified, since Regensburg, Germany, down to Budapest, every 10, 15, 20 kilometers you find a military camp. In Vienna it was called Vindobona. Led until to Siebenburg and today Romania, and the Danube goes into the Black Sea. Vienna 37 now, the Dukes of Babenberg, they are the regents of Austria for 207, say, trader and interest. While the Habsburgs, they tried to enlarge the territory and use their children for political marriages. They stepped into Burgundy, Brussels was the center, they stepped into Spain, Madrid and Toledo was the center. They also entered into many territories of Italy. They also inherited Hungary and Bohemia in the days they ruled in Prague. So it was really a hodgepodge of all these ethnic groups, and the Viennese are never German background. Couldn't be. We are more Czechs, we are more Hungarians and Italians than we could be German. But since Emperor Joe II, the son of Maria Theresa, in order to have a common idiom, he decided to use a national idiom. While at home, you spoke your mother language, yeah, whatever, Polish, Hungarian, Czech. But officially in the offices, before the emperor, in school, you spoke German. And we speak German in Austria. One gentleman asked me, our German is a bit softer than the German. It's not so nice. We mean, and we consider it a bit ugly, the German. On the left-hand side, two very pretty buildings. One of them was Maiolica, beautiful flowers, and the other very special gilded laurel leaves, medallions, and these are projects of Otto Wagner, as important as Barcelona. And on the left-hand side we see the Naschmarkt. Our Asian people like it because here we sell a lot of oriental food. Japan, Asia, India, Persia, Old Persia, call them still not really. Here in Vienna we call them Persia because they came as immigrants, later called Iran. They were still, you can say, those who were lower placed. So it's an international food market, and the Viennese pensioners like to enjoy drinking the wine here. The Viennese love to drink wine, they enjoy the wine. We learned it from the Romans to drink wine, and here, this side, we can also sip our wine. Sometimes people are a bit illuminated in the afternoon. The Viennese, you know, don't get drunk. They just get left. You also can buy Asian porcelain. You can buy whatever you need for the
东
kitchen,
洋散
food,
会，
and also alimentation. We have also a lot of vegetarians in Austria. You find also vegetarian food here. And on the right-hand side, there's a lot of Asian, Japanese, from the island, covered with laurel leaves. And these laurel leaves cover a house which we call secession. The building is most exciting. Gustav Klimt also enriched his painting with inspiration brought from Japan and China of the cherry trees, the cherry leaves, and also this wonderful marquetry, Chinese, Japanese, we can say woodwork, a sort of marquetry work, and also the Chinese painting. And he made a lot of inspiration, got a lot of inspiration for a lot of paintings to build in the Belvedere. Look on the left is a session building. In the cellar you could enjoy this exciting painting, the Beethoven frieze. Yeah, people ask me how can one paint? Borromeo Church, extremely interesting. It was built by the same architect who designed Schönbrunn. He was a student in Rome with the famous architects Bernini and Borromini. At the end of the main shopping road, Kärntnerstraße, where you find all the many shops and also the main flag store ship of the crystalware Swarovski. If you want to do your Swarovski shopping, I would recommend to come here to the main shopping road, Kärntnerstraße. It's a big store, rich of whatever you search. And now we see to our right-hand side the Vienna State Opera, the very first building on the ring road, inaugurated to the public in 1869 with a famous composition of Mozart having to the Metropolitan Opera in New York, and also Little Rabbit. And here on the right the doors open at 2 and 3 for those who want to see the opera inside. Very interesting. And now most important to our right, the statue of Mozart. Mozart started his freelancer career in 1781. The soon tended to go away from Salzburg and Don Juan. Mozart statue on the Run residence. To our right, on the right, our Imperial National Theatre of Fine Arts. We call it in German Kunsthistorische Museum. Pallas Athena on the roof shall remind us that she was patron of arts and also political science and wisdom. And here you find not only the famous paintings of Brücher, of Rembrandts. At the moment we have the greatest contemporary exhibition on Rubens, in Toretto, and Raphael Santi and Giorgione, and a lot more. And Rubens at the moment also attracts hundreds and thousands of people coming to the fine arts. On the left, the former stables, today a museum's quarter. In this building, coaches and 600 horses. Today it's a center of, we can say, architects, artists, theatre, where we mainly give performances of literature written by Viennese poets. On the right-hand side, finally the spin. Here we find also an archaeological important piece. This figure is called the Venus of Willendorf. It's a teeny-weeny model of a lady prehistoric girl 25,000 years ago while constructing the train tracks in the Danube Valley. One found this little piece. So this is a document that Austria was populated along the Danube River already in those days 25,000 years ago. And in this house you find also a lot of embalmed animals. You get his everyday popular cigarette. So, we get off here just to cross the road, maximum 20 minutes.
Okay, please, everybody here.
The coaches, and the entire ring road was built of beautiful sandstone, white sandstone. The quarry still is in function, already used by the old Romans 2,000 years ago, and the same stone the Romans used until today we use in case we need to restore it. As you see on the right, every 8 year, 10 year we have to clean the facade. You can imagine what the type of a land we do have. Huh? So we have to save our environment. There is sense that we learn we have to protect our earth, otherwise it collapses, and this is also the result. Too much of all this pollution. Look how white facades, there are other figures. And they make reference also to the Renaissance time, to the Gothic time, to the Romance time. Fine Art Museum is heaven on earth. New York were brought many paintings, and at the moment this contemporary exhibition is one of the greatest. Have time, come in the afternoon and enjoy it, please. So, once more to the right, the Museum of Natural Science. We have learned on the building of the Fine Art Museum we find Palace of Vienna. He decided the old city walls must disappear. And after the walls were demolished, more than 50 years was started to build the ring. And the best architects in Europe were invited. One of them who worked in Dresden in Germany, Semper. Semper, here on the right, as you see here, the Fine and Natural History Museum. Here to the left, Parliament. And the Parliament also was not just built by anybody. The architect who built this wonderful Greek temple was Theophil Hansen. In the 19th century, a student in the academy in Athens, and the emperor picked him for building this beautiful neo-Greek styled palace. The Vienna Parliament, before again Pallas Athena, the goddess of political science. And you see now the time. War, I told you, we have a potential show. And the kids, especially the boys, they love that when the soldiers permit them to enter and explain them the bottoms and all how it works and how you shoot with the cannon and all that. You can imagine this is fun for children here. And they will come a lot more, and also in the Meniere, the soldiers are preparing for the guests. Now on the right hand side we find our National Theatre. On the best German spoken stages in Europe, on the left the City Hall, neo-Gothic, copied from the City Hall of Brussels, as the Emperor wanted to remind that Vienna, Brussels and Madrid are the centers of the Habsburgs in the golden ages. And again you see here punks. Yeah? So we have a teeny-weeny army, but it's efficient and sufficient tasks. Yeah, and they already tomorrow and even today people can come and ask the soldiers how they work and what type of tank it is. Smaller, bigger, large and higher one. And on the right hand side, the old Café Landmann was, until today, it's a center of all the professors who teach at the university, and was one of these places for taking a coffee, meeting friends for Dr. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, who gave lectures about his theories of interpretation of dream in this building to the also a lot of engineering science university, and this is the main university for the 4 faculties. It was already found in 1365, the days in Prague. One found the university, Vienna after that. It's the soul. Mater means mother, so it's the soul, mother soul of Archduke Rudolph's scientific neo-Gothic votive, neo-Gothic building, built before the ring road was started to be constructed, and also initiated by the brother of Emperor Franz Joseph Maximilian. It's part of the ring road also of the richest of the rich banker, Jewish merchants and banker, to build their wonderful palace. Paid a very high amount for buying a parcel, a ground, in which they built their beautiful chestnut trees, linden trees, maple trees, acorn trees, as it should be a road in those days for conversation and recreation. So it was a very popular spot to meet your friends and make acquaintance with your business partner. On the left you see an arsenal, which is one of the three arsenals Franz Joseph ordered after the revolution, the year 1848. And now we come closer to the Danube Canal. The canal is one branch of the Danube River. And this, the Danube River, has also a lot of log houses. White marble coming from Carrara, Italy, and blue tiles. And this is also one of these elegant houses designed by Otto Wagner. He, as a great engineer and architect, also built most of the log houses, unhappily never really used, because in the 19th century the citizens suffered a lot of inundations, which also finally made it necessary to regulate the Danube Canal, and one gave very high walls, protecting the citizens against the water on both sides. You see here today a lot of little huts, which are restaurants and beer and wine bars, and the Viennese during the nice season until the beginning of autumn enjoy here nightlife, getting a lot of good food here and enjoying a little illumination with wine and beer. And on the left hand side we find also the boarding place for all the sightseeing boats. You could do a tour on the Danube River and the canal, and from here to the left also leaves the catamaran going direction to Bratislava, to the former capital where the Habsburgs crowned as kings of Hungary in former times, later again in Budapest. On the right we see Vienna's oldest church. It's a teeny-weeny road called after the patron saint of Salzburg, Holy Ruprecht. And behind this beautiful little church we find Vienna's oldest area, where the Romans settled. 100 past Christ, the Romans fortified the Danube, and Vienna became an important capital for the Romans in the most northeast area of the Roman Empire. It collapsed in the 15th century, it fell apart. Macedonia, where Alexander the Great was born, the emperor, and also from Armenia. And all of them met here. On the left-hand side were stones, a lot of special textiles, and Vienna since the early 14th century became a gateway between Orient and Occident as the Danube goes into the Black Sea beyond Romania and the area of the Delta. We cross the canal, Danube Canal, one branch of the Danube River, and enter into the second district. Why do we know? In Vienna you find very easy orientation. In every corner of houses you find a blue-black. Look here on the left, there's a blue-black, the white name of the road and the white number. And the number tells you which district we cross. At the moment it's a small republic. Before it was one of the biggest empires in Europe. Entering into the second district means we continue a road called Praterstraße. Straße means road. And Prater is the amusement park, a former hunting ground, which since the 18th century we see in a moment. This Praterstraße, called after the Prater amusement park, is also historic, is rich of historical places. And in this road lived many people coming from all over the empire, and the majority emigrating to Vienna came from the area of Galicia, which is today West Ukraine. In former days belonged to Austria. People came from Cracovia, which was protected the town by Emperor Franz Joseph. They came also from Hungary, Budapest. They also came from Bohemia, Moravia, from Britain and from Prague, from all over. And in this road lived Johann Strauss' son. Look on the right, you see an ochre building. And this ochre building was the home of Johann Strauss for a short time, the red-white flags. And here he lived composing, coming from Italy, from Trieste, from Venice, from Modena, from Parma, Piacenza. And people from Venice in the days of the monarchy, also ruled by the Habsburgs, they also copied their Palais Cador from Baron Trapp was the chief of the submarine. He was the victor against the Italians at the Battle of Lissa in Ace. Partners there, and he saw there the first Ferris wheel in his life, and he said, we must have one for Vienna. And Max Steiner brought the two engineers from London, Walter Best and Richards, and they built this giant wheel, 65-meter high. This Ferris wheel became a protagonist, directed by Carol Reed with the famous actors, and could enjoy a candlelight dinner. So you go 5 times up and down. Takes about 2 hours. Enjoy a candlelight dinner. But you should never become dizzy or feel sick when you go up 65 meters. To the right, the park, the Prater, is huge, it's large. It's about 4.5 square kilometers large, and was bought as a hunting ground next to the riverbanks of the Danube Park, but also for the Prater Stadium. One of the editors know that we had built as a new tower by French architect Philippe Perrault, and is a Hotel Melia. Can you imagine to wake up on the 33rd floor, 15 stories? And if you want to go for the dinner on the side of the city, it's under monument protection. One must not build any high skyscraper. Only 65 meters high. And now we cross the Danube River. And we see all the boarding of the big passenger boats. Let me explain the church on the right later when we come back. And now enjoy all from the left area from Germany, Passau, or they go on the right direction, Bratislava, Budapest, Novi Sad, Belgrade, Bucharest. It's a beautiful countryside from Passau, Germany, until to Romania. The decision of the mayor was regulated, restored, and as you can see, we suffer from inundation, the citizens from inundations. It's the United Nations. And the UN, before to the left, was rather high pillars. It's the third seat after New York, Geneva, connected with the International Conference Center. On the left, we call this Conference Center Austria Center. You can read now Austria Center on the left. It's an international conference center. We have a lot of international conferences organized in Vienna. And the UN was started in 1979 of the International Atom Energy Association. Again, everybody listens in TV because Mr. Kerry and also the President of Iran signed this famous treaty here. We have here in Vienna also the International and UNRWA. UNRWA is in charge to organize the refugees in the world. You all have heard that Vienna opened the gates coming from Balkan, those emigrants, also Hungary, and at the moment we also have a lot of discussion about possibly 2/3 can stay years. And on the right hand side there are also a lot of amusement infrastructure. In summer we left this place. We, after work, jump into the water when we have a lot of heat, and Vienna can be very hot, July, August. We have here also trampolines for the children. We have here a lot of restaurants and cafe houses. And in winter we open the gates of the bridge. So the Danube was almost a river, limiting the Alpine mountains, finishing here in Vienna with these little. And in these peaks arrived Jan Sobieski from Poland and supported the imperial troops fighting against the Ottomans 1683. And in these mountains we grow since 2000 years the wine. The Viennese need not to export a lot of wine because we enjoy our life, our wine. In French Joseph's 50th jubilee, this church here, a very prominent, Empress Elizabeth traveled to Geneva, and the day he tried to board the ship in Geneva for going with the ship to Montreux, visiting her friend Lucy Rothschild in Montreux, an Italian anarchist killed her, became a victim of this ugly aggression. And First Joseph was a broken man, and he now ordered a little memorial chapel, beautiful, decorated with Byzantinian design, mosaic coming from Ravenna in Italy. First Joseph was a poor man. Tourist companies, on the right is white buildings for tourist companies, on the right this is for the Austrian main biggest bank, started by the banker Rothschild coming from Germany, Frankfurt. We would call it a Rothschild. And the Rothschild also persuaded the emperor, permitting them to build train tracks. They want to make business with the coal mines and all the mineral mines in the monarchy, and here on the left, damage in the days of the war, 1945. Again, the monument of Admiral David, and Baron Rapp was the chief of the submarine navy, and he fought the battle against the Otranto. But they didn't manage. Under Admiral Horthy, they started out too late, and finally the ship sank because the Italians discovered the ship trying to cross this frontier of the Italians, also very well protected by the Navy of Italy in Otranto. Once you go to Sicily or you go to Apulia, you should visit not only Brindisi, Palermo, but also Otranto. Many Italians lived here, and also many Hungarians lived here. Many people coming from all over the places of Hungary lived here. So it was a hodgepodge place. The second district also had a lot of people coming from Galicia as Jewish Hasidims and Ashkenazims. And we can say also a lot of Muslimic people came direction to Bratislava, which is a lovely, lovely place today, and for a short while also used for the Habsburgs, the crowned, they are kings of Hungary. And now we come back to the ring road. So we go until the Schwarzenbergplatz. Schwarzenbergplatz Railway from this church into the town of the Railway. So, and now we see on the left-hand side a little white dome. This is interesting for those who are in love with the science of astronomy. Possibly you like to look into the heaven to see how the stars move. And this is an observatory. The Viennese are fond of this science since Kepler. And on the right, you see the boarding place of the catamaran You see the sightseeing boats, and you see the Viennese enjoy here the 12-meter wide eagle on the top and before the monument of Field Marshal Radetzky. Radetzky, Franz Joseph's audiences, as the emperor was so over-organized. But Radetzky knocked against its door and could enter into the private rooms of the emperor. Look at him on the left, Field Marshal Radetzky. One of the first director and member was also Otto Wagner, Gustav Klimt. One could adore on display in the Museum Belvedere. So here on the left-hand side, the Museum of Applied Arts. And this group of architects, designer and painter also designed jewels, cutlery, furniture, and also textiles. To the left, our city park, Vienna's biggest park. Almost 40% of the surface of the ring road and the city is covered with green lanes and green parks. And in this park, we find this famous monument of Johann Strauss' son, all over covered with gold leaf. Of Queen Victoria. From this house comes the family of her husband. And the brother of the owner was King of Belgium, Leopold. And on the left, in the Cour Salon, we perform all the waltzes and many of the arias of his operettas. You possibly know the aria of the operetta Gypsy Baron, The Butt, The Night in Venice, Viennese Blood, wonderful, wonderful earworms, which everybody knows in Vienna. We call the most famous earworms. And the former casino of the aristocrats today is a Ritz-Carlton hotel. Well, inside it's ugly, because outside the buildings must not be damaged, must not be changed. We have a monumental protection here on the ring road. Well, the building on the corner with the Friday restaurant belonged to the youngest brother of Franz Joseph, Ludwig Victor. He was a bit a guy. And as a gay guy, Franz Joseph had a lot of troubles with his youngest brothers because he used to show up in lady dresses with high heels, shoes. Can you imagine having a brother as an emperor wears lady shoes with high heels and lady dresses? And nowadays nobody cares about. Nobody does make any notice of such a crazy guy. But in those days it was no go. Emperor Franz Joseph had big troubles with him, and he chased him out. Victor Luzzi. And before us, the house of Franz Joseph, and this former guest house of the emperor is today the guest house of the Federer. We see the monument of Count of Schwarzenberg, a noble, important person, was a great military fighting in the Battle of Leipzig against Napoleon 1813, and this he lost our Essex. And And in front of us, a very important monument we are not allowed to remove, and it is the decision of the Russian allies, I told you, in Schönbrunn. 150 years ago, famous engineers from Lower Austria, this is the fountain, reminding us that once you open the tap in your hotel, you drink fresh water which is delivered from the Alpine mountain pastures. Schwarzenberg. And on the left, they put their Pope before the church. Bishop of Cracovia, Karol Wojtyla, John Paul II. Look on the left, John Paul II, the Pope of Poland, Cracovia. And to the right, a very interesting Prince Eugene, the most enchanting palace, which also was the summer residence of the fight against the Ottomans, Prince Eugene. And on the right, we see the Salesian monastery, most important monastery here. She finally came to an end. He decided we have to restore Europe. And under the regency of Emperor Francis and State Chancellor Metternich, during the Vienna Congresses, invited the Tsar of Russia, the Emperor of Prussia, the Emperor of Austria, of course, also organizing, and Castlereagh and Talleyrand, representative diplomats for France and England, and they made a lot of reforms, but while he reformed, he also damaged. Now we continue a road in the 3rd district. You know already why, because we have a number 3 at the corner before the name of the road. And while another building was built here in this road for the Austrian Association of Lottery, the Austrians are great gambler. Some of them in the 19th century lost their entire property because they gambled so much. And this house of the lottery on the right with the L in front, the sign of Roman coins. Isn't it funny? You find boxes of coins. Well, we built here the house of lottery. Yeah, the Austrians have a lot of knowledge. We know that Marcus Aurelius numbers and cross your dams for the lottery. I'm sorry. This is sort of a professional. So, and now we go up to Gürtel. The Gürtel is this building before the crane. Can you imagine? Kara Mustafa Grand Vizier brought all his households. And we have here the code. The metal was a lot of holes where Galileo Princip managed to shoot into the hips of the successor to the throne. So the metal has big holes. So succession wars against the Bourbons and so on, all that children have to learn. And they are brought several times during their, we can say, training as pupils. And he started and fought 30 years too sure until to... For instance, you see here also the painting of Delacroix, Napoleon crossing St. Gotthard in Switzerland. Very fantastic. Art collection in the Upper Belvedere. And on the 15th of May in 1955, things like that will never get freed of the Russians. And they said, okay, whenever Molotov said, just stays neutral and the Russians leave. And this is because we have the 26th of October, national holiday. One wants to remind this is the day when the Austrians became neutral forever, like Switzerland and Sweden side. You see flags of Turkey and also of Brazil. May I tell you, we also know very well Brazil. Yeah, the Austrians are all over, wherever in Brazil, because one of the Austrian archduchesses, Maria Leopoldina, she had to marry Dom Pedro de Alcantara de Brazil. In those days, the Portuguese ruled in Brazil. And she built this beautiful residence in the capital, old capital, in Petrópolis in Brazil. And on the right-hand side, this beautiful palais, the Dukes of Schwarzenberg. They come from the Rajin of Prague. And for the House Habsburg, they ruled, a lot more. They all were either ministers, or the bankers, or the chancellors, were also important staff of, we can say, officers. And on the left-hand side you see the famous, it's a beautiful art. You see, Vienna is not just a small capital. Vienna, in not any other European city, you find so many buildings in one road in Vienna. It's a style 19th century architecture of oak in Europe. Doesn't matter, you need not to remember every single one, but you shall know that there's not any other road in Europe which has so many as we are here. Well, in Paris or in London, they are bigger, the cities, and you need to wait a little bit until you see the next spot and the next spot. Black Death Academy, the Pest Academy, was extinct. A most beautiful Baroque church here to the left, St. Charles Borromeo. And to the right, ladies and gentlemen, now here in this house to the right, in the Golden Hall, we perform the New Year's concert and see how elegantly of the House of the Friends of Music. Every year in the entire world, two city railroad stations designed by Otto Wagner look like pagodas, look like oriental buildings, yeah? Around 1900, that we have a lot of only one of the best stages in the world. Here in Vienna also started their career and became stars in the world. One of them, very little known in Russia, Anna Netrebko, discovered by the old director. Vienna, the Scala, all over the world. She is now Yeah, you go now to the left. Now you go to the left. I'm sorry. Yeah? Yeah? Here in the box. Here in the box. Here in the box. Yeah, yeah. Either eaten or sold. And many shipped over a box. Here you can buy it. And here the main shopping road. Look, this is the main shopping road, which there also is, yeah, in the middle of the road, here to the left. Shop. And here's the entrance to the cafe. There's always a little line before the cafe. Behind the opera Albertina, we learned this morning, found by Maria Theresa's favorite daughter Marie Christine and her husband Albert Sachsen-Teschen. And here we exhibit now this divine exhibition on Raphael. We're all here on the left, the Raphael and Bruegel exhibition. Before us with the green tiles and red roof is the Imperial Crypt. Here are 100 entrances buried. While we turn to the left, look on the right with the green tiles. And before us, St. Augustine Church, Habsburg, Levitz and Stevens. Here on the right, the Habsburgs married. And this yellow painted building is the home of the Augustinian monks, and they also are still priests for here on the right, Albertina art collection. Here on the left, the tourist office, if you need maps, and the Café Sacher. And here on this side, now behind the opera, next to the Sacher Hotel, next to the shopping road, next to the Würstel stand, next to the opera. I hope you enjoyed this.